It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're so happy to have here with us Barbara Wall, who is the Deputy Superintendent of Schools for Georgia, and also the CTAE leader. And I plugged this, Barbara, as if you have kids or grandkids that are going to school, you need to know about CTAE.
Absolutely.
And we're so happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much, Martha.
First of all, tell folks what CTAE is.
CTAE is Career, Technical, and Agriculture Education. It's what we used to call vocational education, but it's a much better, improved, just a great program that all students can be a part of.
And tell folks kind of the kinds of things that are included in that. And then, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do here in the 9th District.
Well, the main thing that we do with Career Tech and Ag Education is to help students get ready to go to work. Whenever that is. It may be right after school. It may be a few years after they go into the military. It may be when they go into post-secondary at a technical college or university. But we've got lots of different programs in our Career Tech and Ag Education programs, things like welding, healthcare science, computers, just a whole host of programs in healthcare. I mean, in Career Tech.
In Career Tech, yeah. And so, I think one of the things, Barbara and I connected early in my time on the school board on this because I was on the Jekyll Island Foundation board, and it was kind of at the height of COVID. I got sworn in January of 2020 before the world changed, and very soon after that, of course, everybody was meeting remote. And in my work on the Jekyll Island Foundation board, I came in contact with J.J. Singh, who ran several of the hotels, and then as a result of that, there was a connection that was made to be able to try to do some hospitality training, not only in Southeast Georgia, but you've done it now in other places around the state. And that's one of those areas you might not think about in Career Tech, but it's a really big and growing area.
It certainly is, and I am so glad that you told us about the workforce needs that were there in the Jekyll Island area. We really enjoyed working there with all of the different hotel people, the restaurants that were there, and what we tried to do with that is what we do all across the state, is to help make connections with things that's going on in our schools in the surrounding areas and with the workforce folks. And I can't wait. In just a few weeks, we're going to be down there at Jekyll this year for our state board retreat. And I've got a young lady that I just want everybody to meet that's been a part of this program. Her name is Savannah Riley. She was a graduate from Camden County High School. And she came and was part of the workforce development tour that we had as part of this project. And she went on to Johnson & Wales and ended up being the commencement speaker there. And she is employed in right there at Jekyll Island. So hopefully while we're down there in a couple of weeks, we'll get to meet her and hear about all the great opportunities she's had with our program.
So do you think, too, that, obviously, when I was in high school, the girls went to home ec and the boys went to shop, okay? And that was also the place where you learned about personal finance and you learned how to balance your checkbook, which I know nobody does anymore because everything's online. But you learned those sort of basic skills about how to live, and in addition to some other skills that you learned during that period of time. And then we went through this phase, I think, in education where my parents were definitely the kind of parents that, because they didn't go to college, they wanted us to all go to college. That was their dream, to have their children go to college. And 3 of the 4 of us did. And my one sister went right into the workforce. Okay. But then in my generation, probably for 25 years, I've been talking about how we as parents need to get re-educated, because I certainly had that same view. My husband and I are very well educated people, and we wanted our kids to go to college, and they have gone to college, and we have everybody's got multiple degrees, and that's great, okay? But my son, who's a mechanical engineer, said, because I tried to get him to get into the race car mechanic program that they had at Linear Tech at that time. I'm not even sure if they still have that program or not, but I want to go to Georgia Tech. I want to go to Georgia Tech. And he's had a great career as a mechanical engineer, but he said, gee, I wonder if if that would have been a better way to go. So with their children, they're trying to keep the options open as far as what they do related to school. They want them to do well in school, but they want to make sure all the options are open. And one of the things that I love that we've done is recently we voted in getting some of these CTAE standards, say, for example, in construction or something like that, in earlier grades and meshing them in with the math standards so that children as young as 10 years old are going to get some exposure to what careers might need from them.
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer in early exposure. Students, if you look at different people that most people end up in careers where someone in their family did something in that same line of work. So I believe it's all about exposure. Let students know what jobs are out there. And if we start early in the lower grades, and we have standards in all of our career tech areas for elementary school, so students can learn about they can learn about ag, they can learn about construction, they can start learning about welding, just all kind of neat things that we can do with that early exposure. And, so you were talking about everybody wanting to go to college, and there for a while, that was the message that we were all receiving. You're not going to be worth anything if you don't go to college. That's not true anymore. What we need to start doing, I believe, is exposing students to a lot of different career opportunities, and then asking them, what do you want to do? And then find the best route to get them to their career.
It's funny, too, because I think that what's really interesting is the number of jobs that require a college education. The percentage has not really changed. It's been roughly 20 to 22% since I was in college, which was a long time ago, okay? And the jobs underneath were, that has changed. And what I mean by that is it used to be there were 15% skilled and the rest were unskilled of the jobs that were left. Now there's only about 15% unskilled and everything else needs some kind of a skill. So I want to talk about healthcare first because that's the one industry through the crash, through COVID, through every crisis that we've had in the last 15 years, they've still been short of what they need in every single field, whether it's the person that does the lowest tech work, and I don't mean low in a negative way, but that it's the least amount of training of tech work, all the way up to physicians. They're short-staffed in almost every area.
That is absolutely true. And, back during COVID, the healthcare industry needs were really at the forefront. And down in the Albany area where Phoebe Putney was, they were hurting worse than anybody. And it's during crisis times many times that people decide to try to figure out a way to do something different. And we did. We had several different agencies working together, the USG, TCSG, Phoebe Putney, the Department of Education, and just a whole host of folks trying to figure out what can we do to help people get prepared for these careers sooner than later, because there was such a great need there. So, a lot of brain power was involved, a lot of discussion. And I can remember we figured out a way to help students get prepared to become CNAs faster. And then we started looking, and Phoebe says, oh my gosh, we can't hire them. They're not 18. So they changed their age limit on that. They knew that the students were getting some extensive training, that they were really prepared, that the one thing that they needed to do was to change that age limit.
So CNAs, certified nursing assistants, we also can prep students to go into an LPN program, correct?
Absolutely.
Because you can't do that. Can you do that in high school in LPN? You have to go to technical
school. You
school.
can get a good start on it.
And then, of course, say someone wants to be a nurse, which you do need a 4-year degree to be able to do that. You can prep for that also.
Exactly.
So that's exciting. That's very exciting. So then the other areas are the traditional areas that you think of. You've mentioned welding a couple of times. There are something like, I think, 140,000 welding jobs across the country that they're going to need in the next 10 years because they've made this commitment to start building ships here again and to build submarines here again. That we shouldn't be, outsourcing to foreign countries that may not like us very much, building the arsenal that we're building for defense. And so the big part of that is ships and submarines. Okay. And I read this number. Mike Rowe talks about this all the time. 140,000 jobs over the next 10 years. And they'd have like 350,000 people, that are thinking about welding but aren't necessarily there. So and that's over time. So welding is one of those areas that I want you to think about. And then we'll keep talking about this on the other side. Barbara Wall's going to be back. We'd love to know what you think about your kids or grandkids being involved in this. We'll be back. It is the Martha Zoller Show, and I'm here with Barbara Wall, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Georgia Department of Education, and she is over CTAE. And I'm so excited. And folks, I just want you, if you go to school in Georgia, they've got a CTAE program at their school. It might even start in the 5th grade for some things.
Certainly could.
Make sure you are asking your school. You are the parent or the grandparent. Push for this. Ask about it. Make sure your children or your grandchildren, you talk to them about what they're going to do when they grow up. Not to be pushy or anything like that, but let them know there are things they can try now. And I think that's really exciting, because I did a thing for Hall County in the mid-2000s where we had this program called the Honors Mentorship Program. And what we did was we created internships for students that were in their later years of high school in a field they thought they wanted to work in. And the best thing about it was not the kids that got the internship and said, oh, yes, this is still what I want to do. The best thing was the kids that did the internship and said, I need to find something else because I really don't like this. And that's important, too.
Very important.
Because you don't want to spend 15 years doing something you hate, to try to find the thing you love.
That's true. And y'all have got so many different businesses here in Hall County and the surrounding areas that allow students to come in for those internships and work-based learning opportunities.
Absolutely. So let's finish up our discussion about welding, because that's one of those really high-growth areas that are going to continue to be there. How do we do the welding programs here, not necessarily in Hall County schools, but through the school system?
Well, in so many of our school systems, we have welding teachers there on site that teach the welding courses. In some of the school districts, they go to their technical colleges and use the facilities there and the technical college teachers. Sometimes the teachers at the high school are they are turned into technical college teachers.
Right.
With it's not really certification, but they do allow them to teach the technical college courses on site, and the students come to them. So we can do it in a variety of ways.
So right now, up at North Hall High School, which is where my children went to school, I have their welding class is working on a bench for me that I'm going to put out at my mother-in-law's grave. And it is, they're not just doing it for me. They do this as kind of a business that they're behind. I mean, they've got so many orders, but it's also a great way to not only learn about entrepreneurship, but also to be able to do things for people, to learn how to deal with customers, to actually see that this work can make you money.
Right. And Martha, the great thing about career tech and ag education is students actually apply the knowledge that they gain. They're not just sitting in a class learning and thinking and talking about stuff. They're out there actually making products like the bench you're talking about.
So let's talk a little bit about construction next. I read a study that said the average age of a construction worker in the United States is 60, and that there is such a need for younger workers because for a lot of reasons. When the crash came, a lot of younger men got out of construction, that kind of thing. But there's a real opportunity there. Now, you might have to move. You might have to go where the work is. But what are the construction programs like through the Georgia Department of Education and CTAE?
The construction programs in Georgia are growing by leaps and bounds, and that's from elementary school up. We've got some strong business partners. We've got a group that's called Construction Ready that's been around for a while that really gets engaged in our schools and goes to bat for our teachers. I can remember folks in that group would say things like, What we want our people to do is to find a teacher, introduce themselves to that teacher, and say, I am here to help you. I'm the construction person, but I want to help you. What do you need help with? Do you need supplies? Do you need some expertise in a certain area that your expertise is not there? We can find someone to come and help teach some of these classes to your students. So the one thing about construction, and this is true in many of the areas, is that there's a great group of people outside of school that wants to help, strong partners. And in construction ready is certainly there across the state.
Well, and I think one of the things you need to do if you're listening to this, not only I said earlier, go talk to your school about what they have, the teacher, the principal, those kind of folks. But if you're in a business that you're hiring people in these fields and you have shortages in certain areas, let your local school system know that. Or you can talk to Barbara Wall and let her know that.
Yes, I will connect you.
And she will connect you to the program or to the school that might be able to help you with that area. Because I think while this thing we have on our desk, this laptop or phone or whatever it is you used, is a wonderful thing. I'm not saying it's not. I use it every day, and I was able to raise my children because when I went back to work, I was able to be home in the afternoons. I was like one of the pioneers of at-home working. I did my show in the morning, but I was home in the afternoon because I had a laptop and a phone, and I could continue to return phone calls and things like that, but didn't have to be in the office. And I had a very forward boss in my boss, Jay Jacobs, that let me do that, okay? And it was important. So there's a lot of changes that have happened in how people do work, but we've lost some of that individual discussion. And that's how you discover some of these fields. It's just by striking up conversations with people.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing, when you can go out to dinner or something and you start talking to different people. I can remember being at a baseball game with my grandchildren, and there were some other kids there, and we were all out to dinner. And one of the fathers says, Miss Barbara, I was over in Jones County, and I saw this great program. He says, they have a welding program. They've got a construction program. They've got audio-video technology. And he started telling me about all of this stuff. He said, have you seen things like that? I said, every day. I said, those are the kinds of programs that are in our schools. And he has become very active in the schools that are near his area. He has Snowco Construction Company is what he has. And he has found out, about the different competitions that we have through our Career Tech student organizations. He's gotten to where he wants to go into the schools and talk to the students to let them know about the careers and connect with some of the other businesses in the area. But he didn't go to a school that had these opportunities. So when he saw this, he thought this was something really unusual and really different in just one system. But it's throughout Georgia.
I should know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I don't know the answer. Do we do trucking and logistics and that kind of thing in CTAE?
We do logistics. Okay. Truck driving, there's an age limit
there's an age limit, right.
So we're not into the truck driving, but there are lots of opportunities at the technical college for truck drivers. But logistics is desperately needed across the state. We need to add more of those logistics programs. We're looking at adding some.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a real opportunity because I hear that kind of as a buzz when I'm talking to people that they're in those fields, and I'll hear them, yeah, we can't hire enough people, that kind of thing. It's not that it's a specific thing.
Well, and it's funny when you talk about logistics. I have a nephew that lives down in the Statesboro area, and he was going to be graduating from high school a few years ago, and my sister said he's going to college. I said, what's his major? She says, oh, I don't know. He hadn't thought about that. I said, well, maybe he should consider logistics. And she immediately says, I don't want him driving a truck. And I said, logistics is so much more than driving a truck. And he is in college down at Georgia Southern, and he is in logistics.
That's exciting. Very exciting. We're going to go to the phones now at 770-535-2911, and we'll talk to Jim in Jackson County.
It's really been close to my heart. We've talked about this for years, the retention of our best and brightest out of our school system. In other words, to get their degrees, come back to Jackson County, the 25th fastest growing county in the United States. And my vision, and I've talked to Governor Deal, he and I have talked about this thing, a few times also. We need to get our young people thinking about their role in our northeast Georgia region, Hall County, Jackson County, Clark County, etc. And the other thing is I lived in upstate New York, as you well know, for many years before I transferred to Jackson County. But I thought upstate New York had some of the best tech colleges in the United States. But I've seen through the effort of Governor Deal over the years as he pushed industry and the importance of industry to the state of Georgia. Lanier Tech, Athens Tech are two of the tech colleges that I'm more familiar with. But if you look at their curriculum, they have some of the best courses that are applicable to the expansion that we all see as coming to our great area and our great state. I've been pushing for years, and I haven't been successful in getting the lady just spoke of logistics. Logistics is my old career field. I was a logistics manager in corporate carborundum in Niagara Falls, New York, and then I was in the logistics manager when I came to Georgia. I got transferred to Georgia. But it's my vision, and I hope this is the vision of others also. We've got 23,000 people working in distribution centers and logistics associated career fields, and I'm still a member of the Logistics Management Association of America out of
Well, and
Framingham,
you also do such fantastic work with students in Jackson County and in this area, and we're just so proud of the work that you're doing with that. And thanks for calling in. And I think, you know what, the whole world is not politics, Jim, and that's why it's important that we talk about other topics too. Thank you for your call today. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Barbara Wall. It is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with Barbara Wall from CTAE, which is Career Technical Agriculture Education for the state of Georgia. We're very excited about this. It's one of my favorite things that I'm involved in at the State Board of Education, and I'm so excited about it. Barbara, I want to talk a little bit about the ag side of it, because agriculture is the biggest industry in Georgia. It's the biggest industry in this area. There is a shortage of people going into agriculture. And, you know, how do we mesh that into our programs in the state?
Ag is very strong in Georgia. As a matter of fact, our Teacher of the Year this year is from the ag area, and was a fabulous teacher and is doing a great job representing the state of Georgia. But ag is everywhere. You know, when we think about ag, we think about crops, we think about horticulture, just the whole host of ag is there. But we also think about robotics and drones. Have you been in a tractor lately and looked at all the gadgets that are in there? It's quite different than people when they started ag in the early days with their mules and their plows and things like that. There's just so many opportunities in the world of ag, and that's an area that we cannot overlook. You know, we must keep our food industry clean. We must have plenty of food in America. So, you know, ag is so important to our livelihood.
Yeah, and I think, too, that people, you know, it is kind of a national security issue, really. You need to be able to grow enough of your own food. You need to be able to do it here in this country. It's not necessarily that I don't want to. I mean, I love a global market. I think that's great. But there's certain things you need to be able to do here. Now, I know here in Hall County, we've got a farm, you know, that
nice farm.
A really nice farm.
One of the nicest ones in the state.
Yes, the kids are learning how to be farm workers and how to be a farmer and how to run a farm. Because as I talk to friends of mine that are in the farming business around here, the biggest challenge they've got is that they're my age. They're 60 or whatever, 65, and they're worried about what's going to happen next, where the young people are going to come from.
Yeah. We have a big, strong focus and a great FFA program in Georgia. As a matter of fact, we've got national competition coming up in a few weeks, and I'm expecting to have lots of winners from Georgia. So it's important that we keep our focus on ag and we don't forget that that is such a strong industry in Georgia. One way that we can help people be prepared for this industry is to do some things similar to what you are doing in Hall County. You've got a great farm program. It's a beautiful farm. There's all kinds of animals that are there. There's honeybees, teaching kids how to do the honey, and teaching kids all about the meat processing with your meat processing facility. Getting kids engaged and involved is very important. They will carry those kinds of skills on with them later.
You know, it's funny. My son, Ricky, my youngest son, he was, when he was in ninth grade, I mean, he'll be 40 this year, so, you know, he's not young anymore. He's got a lot of kids. Well, he is young. But he was in FFA because when he went to go sign up going into ninth grade, North Hall was very crowded at the time. He couldn't get any of the science classes he wanted. The only class that was available was horticulture. And I must admit, my husband and I were like, oh, that's not a real science class. We were a little snobby about it. I'll admit it. And I learned by the end of the class, first of all, that was a really hard class. He's used it his whole life. You know, he's great with his yard and all that things. And he's in the research field, in the agriculture research field with the Department of Agriculture. But he went to the FFA competition, and he got junior horticulturist in Georgia for the whole state. That's and great. Won $100. And back in this was like 1990, money, whatever. It was a lot of money. So he was very excited. We still have that corduroy FFA jacket, and hopefully, you know, his kids will be getting involved in that too. But there's been a lot of wonderful things related to that kind of started almost as extracurricular. Yeah. You know, FFA was extracurricular. A lot of these things that we've now, I want to use mainstream, maybe the wrong term, we've kind of mainstreamed into curriculum, used to be extracurricular stuff.
Right. Well, and our CTSOs, they're really...
And tell people what that is.
Career Tech Student Organizations, like FFA.
Right.
We've got 10 of those different organizations for our Career Tech programs. They're actually, instead of extracurricular, they're intracurricular because what they do in class relates a lot to what they do in those competitions. So that's a really important piece of our program. As a matter of fact, we talk about the 3-ring model for ag, FFA being one of those rings.
Now, is ROTC under the CTAE programs, or is it separate?
ROTC in Georgia is part of our Career Tech programs.
That's great. I think that's exciting, and it's growing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Let me tell you something about an ag student. Sometimes, as a parent, students get placed in classes that they don't really want to be in. When I was in Houston County, there was this student. He moved from another county. There was no room anywhere else, and he got put in ag. He didn't really want to be there. But by the time he got out, he loved it. He is now working at the Botanical Gardens in Atlanta. I took a class there a few years ago, and I thought, what was that student's name in Houston County that is now working at Botanical Gardens? So I texted his teacher, and she told me what his name was, and that was the kid. And he was over all of these people at the Botanical Gardens. He's in there. He's teaching this horticulture class, you know, on all these flowers and what to do with it and all. And he ended up in that class by happenstance. He didn't even want to be there.
Same kind of thing.
Barbara, loves it.
We're going to take a break right now. We got one final segment with Barbara Wall, and we're going to focus next on what parents need to know and how parents can help their child navigate CTAE. We'll be back. It is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with Barbara Wall from the Georgia Department of Education. We're so excited that she spent her time with us today talking about something everybody should agree on, that kids should be able to find their passion and be able to get a job, if that's right out of high school, if that's after college, if it's after graduate school, that they should have the skills that they need to be able to know what they want to do and then also how to apply it. And I'm excited about that. But parents can help in this endeavor too. So if for parents and grandparents that are listening out there, Barbara, what would you suggest to them, the questions they should ask maybe their students, but also the questions they should ask at school?
I think one thing is to find out what the student is truly passionate about. What do they want to do? What career opportunities are out there, and what do the careers look like a few years down the road? Are these going to be high demand careers, or is this just something that's coming for a short while? It's going to be short lived. We offer a product in all of our school districts. It's called U Science. It's an assessment. It's an interest and an aptitude assessment. You know, sometimes our students may be interested in something, but they may not have the aptitude to do that. And this assessment looks at both of those, and it offers suggestions on different pathways that they may want to consider. And what we have found out oftentimes is that students may see something that is listed there as a career that, you know, they're not interested in that. And the reason they're not interested in it is they're not aware of it. They haven't been exposed to it. So those types of assessments can lead to some good conversation about IT, for example. Maybe you've got an aptitude in IT, but what do people in IT really do? And conversations can be had with those actual assessment results.
Yeah, and I think too that sometimes, I know that, and I'm sure we still do this, is where you have these electives that you can take in middle school that some of them are CTE related, correct?
Yes,
so that you can get a little bit of an introduction to something. So that's good. And then you mentioned IT, which we haven't touched on at all, folks, but we have a CTAE related to AI, related to IT, cybersecurity. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Those are some very popular courses and great demand courses as well. I don't think there's a career out there that we don't have something that a student could take advantage of.
Do we help as far as advising the student, well, you need to go on further into technical school or college, or you can go right to work with this? Do we help with that area too?
Our counselors can help with that, absolutely. But, you know, instead of saying, what college are you going to?
Right.
Let's think about what career are you interested in and what is the best route to get there. Is it a technical college? Is it on-the-job training? Is it a university?
You know, that's bingo right there, okay? What career are you interested in? What do you think you want to do for the rest of your life? Because, yes, work is something you have to do, okay? And it's a means to an end for some people, but you want it to be as pleasant as possible. I mean, in both of my careers that I had in my lifetime, I have loved what I've done. And it's made it easier because I've loved what I've done.
And it shows, Martha.
Thank you. I mean, but I had a retail career for 10 years before I stayed home with my children. And then, but I had media training. The weird thing is, I'm just telling folks, go through the open doors, okay? Because I had a television production job with Riches, which was the department store, and I did training videos. I mean, and that kind of thing, because the economy was kind of slow when I graduated, and I didn't want to be out of work. So even though this wasn't a station-based job, it was in my field, and it paid, so I took it. And then a few months in, because of the recession, my job got eliminated. And when they came to me, they said, well, you can either be out of work or you can be an assistant buyer. And my family had been in retail, so I had a little bit of exposure to what an assistant buyer was, and I didn't want to be out of work. So I took that job, and that took me on a path that I didn't expect for about 10 years until I got married and started having children, okay? So go through the open doors, okay? Don't be so focused on your path that you don't see an opportunity to learn something new.
Take advantage of those opportunities.
And then I got to get back into my career at 30 years old, 34 I think I was. Got back in, and I've been doing it ever since, and I've loved it. But you got to be willing. I always say this to the kids I mentor: go through the open doors, or at least take a peek and see if you might be interested.
Martha, I was a teacher, and I loved teaching. I never planned on getting out of the classroom.
You're still a teacher in a lot of ways.
I think so. But I had, administrators that were encouraging me to get into administration and all, and I really wasn't interested. But, it took a superintendent coming in and just pretty much pushing me out of the classroom into a career tech director position, and I loved it. And once I got into that, I've enjoyed administration, and that's what I've done the rest of my career.
So if you want to know more, you can go to godot.org and /CTAE, and you can see all the things that are there. Any other tips for parents?
Don't be afraid to go to your school and ask some questions. There's lots of people there that can be helpful to you. Listen to your students, find out what their passion is, and help them obtain what they want to do.
And I know how busy all of you are. And I know just from my own children that have children now that you have a million apps that you get from your school about this class and that class and the other class. And that's why I would just say to you, clear an afternoon or a morning, make an appointment, go and talk to the people at your child's school. I'm not saying you don't do that, but I know just from observing my own adult children with their children that they're busy. They're really, really busy. But you won't regret taking that time and really getting to know your teacher, because the world hasn't changed as much as you might think it has, and personal relationships and people giving you advice about what they do and what you might like to do might open a door for your child. And you've got to be you've got to have that ability to do that.
You know, Martha, it might be good to go on a tour of the school too if they haven't done that. Take a look at the labs that your students have advantage of.
Yeah, don't just ask about AP classes. Okay, that's important.
That's AP classes.
Okay,
are
very important. But try to see the whole school. If I could do something differently, although my kids are doing great, I would have been more open to the non-college careers. And, I would have definitely done that. Now, Barbara, if people want to get in contact with you or your department, how can they do that?
You can give me a call. You can send me an email. Email is probably the easiest. My email is bwall@doe.k12.us.ga.
Yes, and we got to work on a better email address for all of us related to that. But you can also Google Barbara Wall, CTAE, and that information will come up. We're going to thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Martha, for inviting me. I've enjoyed it.
And we're going to post this online so that you can listen to it yourself. You can share it with your kids and grandkids. And we hope that we opened a few doors for you today. We'll be back.